Hey there, YouTube. Cheers. Hope that everyone is doing well. Thought I'd get on today. I had a little time on my hands with another Let's Go for a Spin. These are records that I listened to on last week, the week of the election, and so I was keeping myself busy with music, so I don't want this to be too long. So let's get right into it. I hope that everyone is doing well. Take care of yourself in this season and staying positive and all those great things. So let's begin. I had a great time last week playing records and just relaxing around the house and just sitting back and relaxing and just getting lost in the music. I think music is a really powerful tool that, when used properly, can really be a good inspiration to us, especially in seasons of adversity. And so, the first album that I listened to last week was a fairly recent release, Steely Dan. This is radio. It's called Radio Broadcast Recording, live on air, 1996. I think this might be considered uh, an unofficial release. It's on black vinyl. Uh, and here it's on a small label called Pink Flamingo out of the UK. But this was a live recording from 1996. I don't remember if it even says where this was, but yeah, I think this was uh, on one of their tours. Anyway, back to this record. It was actually phenomenal. I bought this album about a month ago, maybe 5 weeks ago. It wasn't even on Discogs then. I haven't gone back to look at it to see if they've added it since. But it starts off with Do It Again and Jack of Speed. I forget yeah, and Jack of Speed and Hey 19 and then Ricky Don't Lose That Number. Side B consists of Midnight Cruiser, Black Cow, My Waterloo, and My Old School. This the sound quality actually is not very bad on this record. The only thing was when I bought this album, it new sealed. It came out really dirty. I had to clean it up. It was thumbprints and fingerprints, and it plays just fine. But I did have to clean it up. A lot of folks are talking, and I agree. A lot of the quality control in a lot of these newer pressings just are lacking. I've gotten records that are warped, that are dirty, and so this album, if you can find it, I would highly recommend it. I paid $30 for this. I believe that it was worth it. It's a little bit pricey, but it's a live performance, and I am a fan of live performances, and I really enjoyed that whole album, side one and side two. I listened to both side one and side two all together, and then I went back and I replayed side one again because I really did appreciate that. The second album was an album that I just got over on Saturday. I had the pleasure of hanging out with a good friend of mine at his record store. He likes to remain anonymous, so I can't say his name or even the store. But I went and I told him, I'll help him. He runs the store by himself. He's preparing for record store day. So I did some shopping and then helped him move some things around in the store. And so as we were doing that, he recommended, I had never heard of this artist before, but Ian Carr, Belladonna. It's on the Vertigo label. Apparently, this album was originally released um, in 1972 I don't believe it was released in the U.S. theme, but it was reissued for Record Store Day back in, I think that was 2021, on the Mr. Bongo label. And I do appreciate the releases on the Mr. Bongo label. It's got that great original Vertigo label. But he's a jazz trumpet player, and oh, why I put this back on here. He's a jazz trumpet player. Oh, because I can't see anything in there. That's why. He's a great jazz trumpet player. This album was phenomenal. It's hard to describe. It's a little bluesy, maybe a little uh hard to describe this album, but it was absolutely fantastic. Side one has Belladonna on it and Summer Rain. Summer Rain was really nice. Side B has Reverend, no, I don't even know how to pronounce that. Mayday, Suspension, and Hector's House. Hector's House was also probably my second favorite song on this album. It sounded absolutely fantastic. I got this on Saturday of last week, and it captured my attention, and so I played it all the way through, and it sounded great. Uh, Jim at the record store that I go to, hopefully he won't mind me just saying his name. He recommended this album as we were moving stuff around. Again, I had never heard of this artist before, and I do enjoy buying music that I may not be familiar with, especially if it comes recommended by someone that I trust their taste in music. And man, it did not disappoint. This was an absolute fantastic album. It was $28 worth it to me. I really enjoyed playing that record, and I will probably listen to it again real soon. The third album from last week, I revisited The Doors' "L.A. Woman." This was, of course, The Doors' last commercial release just before Jim Morrison's death in 1971. Uh, I am a fan of this album. Uh, a lot of people that I know say that this is their favorite album of all time. I'm not gonna say that it's not really my favorite album of all time, but I appreciate this album. Riders of the Storm. Side one is absolutely my favorite. I did listen through side one and side two, but the songs that I like the most on this album are on side one, which beginning with Changeling, uh, Lover Madly, uh, Cars at My Window, L.A. Woman, Been Down So Long. On the B side, I am a fan of Riders of the Storm. I do really appreciate that song. But side one just for me it flows together. I hadn't played this album in a long time, and I was glad that I did listen to it again. For those who are not Doors fans, I think this is a good introduction to the Doors, or are not familiar with their music. I'm not buying any of these box sets, the whatever the UHQR or something like that. That's was just issued for this album. I'm not spending that kind of money on almost in any record, really. I think all that stuff is just hype and overpriced. But if you can get a good copy of LA Woman, I recently upgraded this copy. I have maybe three or four copies. I upgraded this one not too long ago. I think I paid $20 for it. The price tag isn't on here, but I think I paid $20 for this one. I did buy this. Well worth it. An album that I really do recommend. The next album from last week, this Great Impressions album, the Young Mods, Forgotten Story. This is an absolute fantastic album from 68 or 69, I want to say. by the Impressions. This whole album, and I actually posted several songs from this album over the weekend. I had it out because I was just listening to it, and I said, "Wow, I've got to post some of this." But um, of course, the Young Mod's "Forgotten Story" is a great song. "Choice of Colors," "The Girl I Find" is a beautiful ballad. I really do like that song. "Wherever You Leadeth Me," "My Deceiving Heart," Side 2 7 Years, "Love's Miracle," "Jealous Man," Soulful Love," and then "Mighty Mighty Spade" and "Whitey." Uh, Absolute great album on. I need another. This covers a little worse for wear, but this is on the that great Curtum label. If this album, I know it gets a little bit pricey, if, and it's really a shame. I don't think there's a current reissue of this, but if you can get a copy of this album, The Impressions, the Young Mod's "Forgotten Story." This was arranged by Donny Hathaway. He was a staff. He started out, I want to say, as a staff writer and a musician at Curtum Records. And this album is absolutely fantastic. If you, I'll play the whole thing all the way through. I hadn't played it in a little while, but man, I am so glad that I did. Uh, the next album, I needed a little comedy last week, so Jimmy Lynch, "That Funky Tramp in a Nightclub," Volume One. It's a comedy series album that came out. I want to say in the early to mid 70s. I don't remember exactly, but Jimmy Lynch is a funny guy. It's on the Laval label, a little small label. It may have been his own label. I'm not 100% sure. But this was a funny record. I actually listened to this on election night, and I got a good laugh for this. I think I have one or two other Jimmy Lynch albums in my collection, but and this wasn't that expensive. I paid $3 for this. I don't know. I think earlier this year. It's a great album if you're into comedy. Of course, it's not for kids. It's very Red Fox, Richard Pryor like, but there was a good energy with the crowd that was there, and it just sounded like they all had a great time. And so I really enjoyed that, listening to that album and playing that album. The next one from last week is the group Smash, and so they started out as White Heat, but that name was controlled by Barry White because they were being produced by Barry White. Then they went to the UK. This album was issued under the name Smash. A great album. Of course, this was the group that we would know as Switch. Bobby DeBarge, Philip Ingram. I don't remember all of their names, but of course the band Switch. So that's essentially what who this are. In their earlier days. This album came out in, I want to say, 78 in the UK and then 79 in the US. But there's some good stuff on here, and this album is not bad. It starts off with an instrumental Pall Mall groove that's really nice. Um, uh, Probably my favorite song on here is "I'm Going to Give My Whole Life to Music." It almost sounded biographical for the group. They were really dedicated to their craft. It's a beautiful song. Um, then a song "Your Love" on side B and "Please Don't Let Me Go" were really good. I didn't like every record on the album, and this album does get a little bit pricey. I think I paid maybe $15 for this album. Uh, earlier this year, but it's a good record. I don't have. I've heard the White Heat album before. It's nice, but it's super expensive if you want a decent uh, uh, a copy in decent condition. And I am of the belief that today, and I'm sorry, it was on the Source label, that a lot of records today are just overvalued and not worth it. And so I've gotten way more picky uh, over the last few months with what I buy, and there's just certain I'm not willing to spend. So uh, hopefully, maybe one day, and the White Heat album doesn't have a modern day reissue, so maybe it'll be reissued or the prices will come down. I don't know, but for now, this is the album that I have of their pre-Switch days. And of course, if you're not familiar with the group Switch, that they were signed by Motown in 1980. They have so many hits. I think they issued 5 or 6 albums. The first two or three were good. The last albums wasn't really all that fond of, but great record. Uh, then I did listen to a CD last week that was gifted to me by Jim. This Beastie Boys, Check Your Head. This is a great CD. He actually was playing this in the store while we were working, and then I went home and played it again. This is a great album. Everything on here is good. I enjoyed listening to it, and I've been playing it in the car too. But everything on this album is absolutely fantastic. And the 12-inch single that I decided to play last week that I had not played in a long time is Matthew Wilder, Break My Stride. Uh, this is a promo 12-inch. This song came out in 1983. I have the album. I haven't played this album in I don't know how long, but I do like the remix club version. The dub version of the song it was okay, but this remix club version that comes in at 5 minutes and 10 seconds. It sounded really good. I enjoyed playing it. I actually played it a couple of times, and I might play it again before I put it away. But yeah, this was absolutely. I'm glad I hadn't played this in a long time. This 12-inch single, whether it's a promo or a commercial copy, it's usually inexpensive. This particular one cost me $3. I've had this for this one I've had this for 30 years, but I upgraded my copy not too long ago, or actually earlier this year, and so this is the upgraded copy that I have on the private label, and so that is all of the stuff that I listened to uh, fully last week. Thanks again for watching. I'm sorry it's taken this long, but I pray that everyone is doing well and taking care of yourself. And let's not get distracted by all of the nonsense that the media throws at us. Let's just continue and move forward in life. Life goes on. We will survive. It may be tough. It may be challenging. We don't know. We don't know the future. I am confident that God is in control as a Christian, so I don't have to worry about it. And so I encourage you all to do the same. Thank you again for watching YouTube and cheers.